Hi, everybody. So we have been talking about this video for part of the day, and we did hear about David Wilcock. I did yesterday. Um, and it was from, somebody that probably woke up because of him. I mean, he really helped a lot of people wake up. Now, I don't think that the current story is what is actually happening. So we're going to talk about him. And Mia was actually his neighbor. So she's going to talk about that. And I'm excited to talk about him. And I want to say thank you to him right now because he really did help a lot of people wake up. And he was a very targeted individual. But I don't think he was targeted here at the end. And there's a lot of things that point to why he's not here anymore, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't exist anymore. So let's keep that in mind as we have this conversation, okay? All right. Hi, Mia.
Hi, honey. It's good to
Very
see you.
long intro. So, how are
Yeah.
you?
I'm good. It's really hot again. I was just thinking, gosh, I love Hawaii winter and it just started heating up again and it's kind of intense when you get used to slightly cooler temperatures. So just adjusting and then riding the waves of all the wild energies, kind of having my own challenges and growth points with all of that.
Yeah,
Personally, but also just really exciting about everything that's now unfolding on the world stage and everything we've been waiting for so long to see finally start, the dots start connecting and in the public view. So I'm just thrilled about everything.
me too.
Um, and also, yeah, I feel like the David subject is such a sensitive subject, and I know people are really upset. And I also just want to thank him too because he has been such a pivotal voice in really the awakening. I mean, um, I read his book so many years ago, and there were so many things that inspired me in my own path, and also, led me to create Mercado Sagrado and do events and gather people. And he was really one of those sparks because I loved his book that he wrote, and for me, what really stood out about it was a lot of him, talking about free energy systems, and so I think that's such a beautiful connection to everything that's unfolding now. And I know we're going to get into all the pieces, but just to remember like that energy frequency he was holding and originally like distributing was really all about the expansion and who we truly are and as beings and how powerful we really are.
Mhm. Yeah. So you knew him, and not that well, but you knew him quite a long time ago. So,
Yeah.
and I think he was in a pretty tenuous space at that point. So, what was that like?
Yeah. So I don't want to, I didn't know him very well. He was more of an acquaintance, but we lived in the same neighborhood. And as life is, synchronicities happen. And I loved his book and he was someone I would have loved, to meet. And um I'll try to make it into a long story short, but a close friend, and I'll leave her name out because I didn't ask her permission, but David's dog started showing up at her house, and we all lived kind of on the same mountain ridge. And this dog became obsessed with her. So that was the portal for us meeting David, getting to know him. Um, and through that, was invited to one of his birthday parties, and then I would run into him at the grocery store. And this was like maybe 2017, 16, 17, 18, around then. I think maybe 16 or 17. So it's quite interesting now for me to really like think back and go, wow, okay, so that was such a potent time. And I was starting to have an awakening about what's going on with what I'll say the military operation and all of that around 2017. I had a vision, and then kind of information started coming through to me through people involved in that operation or around that time, a little after. So I didn't understand yet that things were really being cleaned up when I would say run into David at the grocery store. And there was one moment, one run in, and I remember he was telling me about what he knew that was unfolding. And he was so excited because he was talking about the arrests of all these high profile people, Hillary Clinton and all of that. And I don't want to put, I'm paraphrasing because obviously this conversation happened almost 10 years ago, but I was just kind of like, okay, wow. And, I can feel back now, like, I think he, like many of us, no one thought it would take this long to get through this portal of the movie and the operation,
Yeah.
because he had the sense of like, this is happening now, and I think it was happening now, and like we're all gonna know soon, and we're here, we've made it, you know. So there was that energy he was carrying, and I don't remember if he was widely talking about it publicly then, but he was in private spaces, with us and people in his life. And then I just also remember, though, being at this gathering. There wasn't many people there at his house, and meeting, just kind of feeling the energies there. I made some friends there that are still friends today. That are really beautiful, expansive people. Some people doing really advanced, like, healing work, cutting edge things, and then also some characters that didn't feel good. There was specifically one that my friend and I sat with, and after we left, we went, that was really off. I mean, to the point where she burned that business card. And we had a little laugh about it today, because she was like, "Do you remember that?" Actually, she's like, "I actually did a little ceremony cleansing after talking to this person, and he was an older
Mhm.
gentleman that we both intuitively felt like, oh, he's part of, I don't know, just say the cabal, one of the like a." And I can't remember if we, again, it's like this was so long ago, but the impression we got, or he may have literally said that he was an investor. So it was also this impression like, okay, wow, there's so much light here and so much he's exposing and so much expansion. But I trust my intuition very much. And like this figure that was supporting that, his work also was not, in my, opinion, not of the light. So I came away from that being like, wow, okay, so that's really interesting. There's this dynamic of the shadow and the light there. And I can remember at that time also, when someone, a friend who also knew him, just kind of being really kind of surprised at how, well, really the word she used was paranoid, how just aware he seemed to be of his vulnerability, when he would answer the phone, how he would answer the phone, and how he would, speak. So at that point, thinking back to what's going on, it's like, okay, well, we know now that so many figures that were talking about free energy or inventing things up until a certain point were being unalived or disappeared or threatened. So anybody involved in that would have had a reason to feel insecure. But then also, we have this play with the shadow. If you know that also all of the shadow is getting eradicated and that world is going away, and maybe you've been dipping your foot into that or taking money from that or playing both sides, then that would also be very uncomfortable too. So I'm not saying I know what was going on there. I don't. These were just my impressions of everything that I saw, just having those little interactions. And he was only kind to me. I only saw, him being very generous with all the people in his life. And again, I celebrate all of the light that he was bringing to the world, but I don't really know what was going on there, and I don't think
Mhm.
any of us really do. Um, yeah, so to segue into like what's going on now, right, honey? Because it's like, obviously, I'm sure everybody aware here, if you're interested in this conversation, has been paying attention to the 10 plus people related to NASA and UFOs who have been recently, allegedly found dead, committed suicide, or missing. And I wasn't really paying attention to that because intuitively, and just from what I know from speaking to people involved with the operation, it's like it's almost everything, or everything on the world stage right now that's being highlighted, is a part of disclosure, because we've really already won the war. We've really already been through the densest parts. So I just thought, okay, they're showing people that this is how it's been, because again, for years, so many people that were trying to bring high technology in to help humanity step out of scarcity, remember who we are, they were being you know targeted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't get that any of these people, that's actually happening now, or even happened to David. Do you, any?
No. So one thing about David that I get is that so on a lot of people talked about this today, so I'm just going to share this picture. So David, who looks very much like Edgar Casey, was also very pivotal for people, just like Edgar Casey, and believe that he was the reincarnation of Edgar Casey. Now, I get that he was the reincarnation of Edgar Casey, but he did have a soul walk out at a certain point in his life. And that point was right before his marriage that happened not that many years ago.
So can
And
I add one thing too, honey? Because that's interesting. We at that gathering, I want to say it was right when he became engaged to that woman.
yeah, and
So
I don't want to mention her name, but you guys can go look it up. But yeah,
I don't even remember her name, but I will say that felt off. And what do I know? But it felt off to me. Yeah.
yeah, to me, she felt like another person pulling on him, just like the gentleman there that you met and felt off. So I pretty much, once they were a couple, I was like, what's going on with him? He doesn't feel right anymore. Something's happened. And I think a lot of people noticed that at that point. And later, he escaped that, right? And when he escaped that, I believe that he got a younger version. So think of Edgar Casey, think of the family tree of a soul. And what I got, it was a grandchild of Edgar Casey. So the soul that was in Edgar Casey and was in David to begin with, then he got a younger version of that soul. So he still had a lot to say, but he was also carrying all of that trauma. So he had a lot of trauma, he had a lot of stress, and he's been a pivotal figure in the awakening. He's also been brilliant, right? So he's a brilliant guy. And I think what he had happen is he was retired. So I believe his character was retired. He is safe and he will go on to do other things, but he's no longer obligated to play the character that he was playing. So his life will shift. Um, and it's a big part of this operation. So this little video that I saved somewhere will also illustrate that. Let me find it. Um, sorry.
Yeah, well, I'll just also while you're
I
looking
got
for
it
that,
ready.
talk about how another one of the things that it was a ping for both Honey and I we talked about before we jumped on was seeing that Representative Luna. I don't know her full name,
Yeah,
Anna, maybe she like you may have noticed she's really touching on a lot of leading edge topics, right? She literally wrote a tweet that said read the Book of Enoch. She's talking about the Book of Enoch. She's talking about interdimensional beings. She's really going to some far out places for someone in such a prominent position on the world stage. And she put a text out, I want to say yesterday, maybe, about David's, alleged death. So we just have to remember anybody on the world stage in those positions, that was only happening to create buzz and to ask the public to look into something. It's not random. Everything that's happening on the world stage is part of the operation, is being run by the White Hats. So that really, to me, is like almost like a smoking gun of like, yes, this is part of the operation. They want people to pay attention to what? And then that's what you could, ask yourself when all these details are emerging, free energy, these beings, who we really are, our scarcity. I mean, so many things that are really tied to him and who he was and what he was sharing.
yeah. And he was surrounded by a lot of darkness and really had to combat that, which is probably why his nervous system was so stressed out and he was so afraid all the time that he was going to be attacked.
Yeah.
But
I do think it
this,
was affecting his health too, you know?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too.
Yeah.
And I feel that he was very, very tired. And when I asked my higher self what actually happened to him, I got the message that he pulled a Michael Jackson. So, Michael Jackson, most of us realize that he just exited the stage and he's still around. And he even showed up on Larry King Live in a weird costume as a burn victim
Oh,
um,
yeah.
later on. So David did the same thing. So let's watch what he had to say shortly before he exited the stage.
Here, you know, every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary. I got to say, it's a little bit scary, but you guys knew that I might still show up even though it was last minute and I've had a really rough week. Like, you know, that's kind of like every week, but somehow we keep on making it through all of this.
You know, even him in that video, he doesn't look the way I remember him looking. He
No,
doesn't look
he had
the
his whole
same.
mouth redone.
Hmm.
As far as he had some teeth, like a tooth issue on one side, and he had a whole new like set of teeth put in. He really suffered with his dental stuff, and that was during the time with his ex. And I feel like that was also tied into some of the things that were happening. And I don't remember when that was, if that was back in like 2021, if
It
they
would
were still together.
I want
Um,
to say that, well, because I'm pretty sure they were engaged because I met her at that party. So that would have been, I want to say 2017, I think. So they would have moved to Boulder not that long after that. So it could have been around what you're saying. Yeah, he stayed in that area, I think a little longer though. Yeah.
yeah. And they had a house in Boulder, and there was lots of stress. I mean, he had lots of stress all the time. And honestly, I feel like he was extremely tired. And it's a lot. It's a lot to hold it together when you have that much trauma.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like his role was kind of expired. He's not needed as much as he was to begin with by the world. And it was his turn to rest. He's
It's a
been
lot.
through a lot.
It's a lot. And just think about, I mean, it's a lot even for me. I started my business and doing events and kind of to me, doing what I felt to be the solution to all of this stuff in the world. Started that in 2014. It's a lot. It's a lot to do when you step into really anything in a big way. And to imagine him, again, having that conversation with him in 2017 where he knew it was happening and it was like, it's happening. And then to have to wait now, what, another decade for things to really unfold. That's a lot. And then to think he'd been doing that, writing his book, speaking for I don't know how long before then, at least 10 years or so. I mean, that's a long career of being on and really like being in it with people and then dealing with all the complexities of that dark and that light and that intensity and people trying to get at you, even if they just want attention, all of those things. It can be really exhausting for sure. So it's not hard to imagine that one would want some peace to be able to step away, have a break.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
And I feel like it's his sabbatical time right now. And I don't know if we'll see him again. If we do, it'll be in a more holistic way for himself, you know. Maybe he'll
Right.
get to go back into his scientific stuff, the stuff that he really truly enjoyed, and he can let go of the conspiracy stuff because he won't need it anymore. But we'll see. I'm sure that he's going to get the help that he needs. And I don't feel like he's gone in any way, you know. His vessel still exists here on Earth, and he does have a beautiful soul. So just don't try not to think all a bunch of sad things about him, and just appreciate who he was for us, and allow him his rest, because he doesn't need that worry and that stress and that, pain attached to him right now, because that will also make him more exhausted.
Yeah, maybe he will have a break, go to med bed, have some space,
Yeah.
and then, come out when we're on the other side of that. And yeah, I just think like I see so many people who are kind of following along with everything we're talking about here, but then also kind of slipping into fear around feeling unsafe, or that this means it's unsafe. But I just all I can do is share what I believe, but I believe with all of my being, what I know to be true is that we really have been in this military operation for so long, and the light has already won. And if you're aware of the fake Biden and all of those things, just remember how much of it really is, they say a movie, but it literally is a movie, so that the people who hadn't really been paying attention can be ushered through the last part of this portal, so that it makes sense when we moved into the new system, so that there's a framework for free energy coming in, for interdimensional beings to be exposed, for all of the things that we already know are real to really crystallize into our everyday life. And that really a lot of people really need more time, a little slower slower process with that than like we do. So just,
Mhm.
yeah, it's do what you can with your nervous system, take some time in nature, take a moment out, so they don't get caught up in kind of the drama of it, because that's also how they put everything out, with drama, because that's what we're used to. um but yeah, the movie, it's not really for us, because we already are aware of what they want people to become aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge disclosure point, you guys. And send him love, send him wellness energy, and just, let's go forward and give him the space that he needs to go ahead and heal, and thank him. He did a lot of great things for a lot of people, because he put together a lot of pieces that sparked our interests and helped us wake up. So for me, I'm just grateful to him, and I wish him the absolute best in whatever he's going to be doing next. And I am so excited for us as a collective to go forward in this change that's happening, because it's really beautiful. So remember that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
love
really
it.
beautiful. Yeah, and I just love, like, yeah, again, like that, you know, to me, one of the most powerful things he was touching on was just like this, really just the exposing that scarcity is a lie, and that we are so powerful, and that energy is abundant, and everything is abundant, and we are free. And that's such a beautiful legacy. And I feel like, we're stepping into. So to kind of hold that and celebrate that and remember that even through all that's happening, that's really the takeaway, what we're meant to be like fully realizing and grounding.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to say thank you to David. We want to say we hope that he has a very good healing experience and gets to do whatever it is he wants for
Mhm.
his future. So, did you have
Yes.
anything left that you wanted to say, Mia?
Oh, that's
Okay. All
everything.
right.
Thank you,
Thank
honey.
you
And yes, thank
guys.
you, David. And yes, thank you guys for being here.
Love you guys. Bye.